This set of cinema lenses represents the start of the ultra-low budget cinema lens movement. But when these cinema lenses were released, they really had a little bit different target audience in mind than what the current crop of budget cinema lenses are for. And in fact, these lenses can be found in independent film production and people who make passion projects or short films. They really were designed to be a budget lens that you could use on a big budget production. And what you'll find is the reason that these were so popular and this kind of whole movement started is because they finally brought the price point down to a level that you could actually buy one of these cinema lenses for about the price that you would rent a higher quality or high-end cinema lens for probably a 2 to 5 day job. So most of these cinema lenses can be bought for under $400, and the standard rental rate on a sort of a high-end cinema lens or a few $1,000 cinema lens is probably somewhere between $100 and $200 a day. So it doesn't take long to pay off the cost of one of these lenses. And when these lenses were designed, probably the most important character that they were trying to work on with these lenses was to make it so the image quality was good enough that in the right situation, you could use one of these lenses in place of one of those $10,000 or $15,000 lenses, and the image quality would be almost indistinguishable. So that would allow people to buy a lens instead of rent a lens and actually sacrifice no quality on specific projects. This set of lenses is called the Meike Mini Primes, and they are designed for Super 35 or APS-C size sensor cameras. And these were originally released in 2018, and they came on Micro Four Thirds, Fuji X mount, and Sony E mount. And the reason I'm making this video is because Meike reached out to me and they said, hey, we've just re-released this series of lenses, but now on the Canon RF mount, which I thought was fantastic because I've got a Canon R7 and it's very hard for me to find good native lenses that I'm happy with, particularly at a good price point. So I thought this would fill that gap perfectly. Also, these will work well on a Canon C70 or a Red Komodo. So this is an area, the native mount RF lenses is an area that there's a bit of hole in the market, and I think that they saw that opportunity and they just adapted these lenses for the Canon RF mount. And in full disclosure, they did send me these lenses at no cost to myself, but they have no say in the making this video, and this isn't a sponsored video. And there are a number of advantages that these lenses have over the current crop of discount Cine lenses that have been released. And that's very specifically because when they were designed, they were totally designed for professional video production. A lot of the new Cine lenses are really designed as a sort of a consumer alternative to a standard lens or as a video lens. And because of that, they don't really have the quality controls and they're not taking into account the same things that a professional video production would have to worry about. And the first one is color cast. A lot of the budget Cine lenses that I've reviewed on this channel are amazing on their own, and I absolutely love them. But when you start using them as a set, what you find is there is a variation in color, or the color that you get in your images from one lens to another. Now, if you just buy one of these lenses and you're out shooting with it, it really doesn't matter. But if you're shooting one as an A angle and one as a B angle, or if you're switching between the different lenses throughout the different shots, that just means in post-production or editing, you're gonna have to match up those colors. With these lenses, they obviously knew, just like the high-end professional $15,000 lenses, they needed the colors all to match. And I can report that I think that the colors between these are absolutely indistinguishable from each other. You can just swap one on, swap the other off, and you're getting a different focal length, but you're getting the exact same look as far as the colors go. I just thought I should jump in with a quick correction here. The 10, 35, 50, and 85 in the set that I've got all match close enough that you would not have to do any editing of the colors, and I think they would mix fine. But for whatever reason, in the set that I've got, the 25 does have a warmer tone to it, which I would feel the need to correct in editing. It's just a little bit of shift in white balance to sort that out, but it is the one lens that doesn't quite match with the rest. Now, the other thing you're going to see about these lenses is they have little to no chromatic aberration. Now, they do have an advantage over some of these consumer lenses or these consumer Cine lenses in the fact that they start at T2.2, and it's a lot easier to design a lens that doesn't have chromatic aberration when you're starting at T2.2 rather than T1.05 or T1.2. So we do have to take that into account, but I think they did design these lenses so you can use them wide open at T2.2, and through the whole range, you're not going to get any chromatic aberration. The other thing that you're not going to get with these that you often do with the consumer grade lenses is focus breathing. So the focus breathing on these is virtually perfect or extremely well controlled. With the consumer grade lenses, often what you find is when you are focusing in and out on things near and far, the image does zoom in and out. And that is something that's considered undesirable because if you are doing a focus pull in your video, you don't want the thing to be zooming in and out. You just want the viewer's attention to be drawn to what you're focusing on, maybe in the distance, and then you pull focus to the near foreground and now your image is focused on that and the viewer's eye is focused on that. You don't want that image zooming in and out. The other thing that these lenses seem to be very popular for is use on a gimbal. And what I've found is not only are they light, they are native mount to all the different mounts, including the RF mount. So you're not going to have a big adapter. You're not going to have a really long lens on there. But in addition to that, they are all very, very similar weight, bar the 10 millimeter. So the 10 millimeter is about 50 grams lighter than the heaviest of the other lenses, but all the other lenses in the lineup that I've got are within 20 grams of each other. So that means you're either going to have to just lightly rebalance or adjust the gimbal, or you're not going to have to rebalance it at all, depending on the power and the type of the gimbal that you're using. And all of the lenses have a 77 millimeter filter thread. So if you've got a 77 millimeter filter, it's going to work on all the lenses across the range. The other thing I really like about this lens lineup that you don't necessarily get with some of the new consumer grade Cine lenses is the fact that you've got this huge range of focal length. So it starts at 10 millimeter, and what I've got here now, I've got the 10, the 25, the 35, the 50, and the 85. They also make a 65. So you're going from 10 all the way up to 85. So you've got what is ultra wide at 10, and then you've got moderate telephoto at 85. So regardless of what kind of film or project that you're shooting, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to have the focal length that you need. And most commonly in the new consumer grade Cine lenses, generally they start at 24 or 25 and they go to a maximum of 50, which is the most popular of the lenses to use for that. And if we push these aside, I've got here the 25, 35, and 50, but you don't have the options to go beyond that. And while I think the 25, 35, and 50 are going to be the most popular lenses in this range, I really like the 10 and 85. They give you a completely different perspective in your filming. And particularly the 85. I recently took this to a World Cup match. And interestingly, there are some restrictions on the World Cup, what sort of photo and video equipment that you can bring in. And one of the restrictions is the lens can't be any longer than 10 centimeters, which is kind of an odd restriction. But on a Super 35 or APS-C sensor, 85 millimeters, depending on what you're using, is going to be somewhere between 127 and 135 millimeters. So that really gave me a moderate telephoto image, which I could capture some incredible detail, particularly if I went into 4K crop mode on the sensor, which crops in even more. And so I got some images that I really don't have any other of the hundreds of lenses I've got. I actually don't have another one that will get me that sort of reach in this sort of size. So you can really see the advantage of having these smaller lenses. And even though you can buy these lenses as a kit, you can also buy them individually. And I think if I were to pick my favorite couple of this whole set, it would probably be the 25 and 85. And if I was going to build a 3-lens kit, it would probably be the 25, 35, and 85. Although the 25, 35, and 50 would probably be the most common and the most versatile. And I think these lenses still fill the exact role that they have for the past number of years. And that is, they allow you to have a set of in-house lenses that save you from renting lenses for specific projects that are budget projects or projects where you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference between using one of these lenses and a $10,000 or $15,000 lens. And probably the only disadvantage of these lenses is the fact that they only go to T2.2 as opposed to T1.05 or T1.2 that you're getting out of these new consumer grade of Cine lenses. I'll put some links in the description down below to the best price I could find on these lenses, both individually and as a kit. And I've just thrown a video on screen now. This is Spencer's video and review of these lenses, and he did a lot of detailed tests that I also did, but I just left out of this video and didn't film them because I kind of thought that he did an even better job than what I did. And his results pretty much confirmed everything that I found as well.